Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. I just want to acknowledge that we are live streaming. So I want to thank everybody, first of all, for making the time to be here today. And Councillor Henry, I know, has to leave at 11 o'clock. And Councillor Pike's possibly on standby, but we'll see.
Should be okay.
Should be okay. And I want to thank the clerk, I believe, for the goodies here too, coffee break time. All right, so unless I better call the motion first, right? So moved by Councillor Page, seconded by Deputy Mayor Winans, and be resolved that agenda for March 6, 2023 be adopted. Any changes to the agenda? All in favor? Carried. All right, so the start of our budget meeting, and CAL, do you want to start, or?
I would like to, Your Worship, thanks very much. So what I'd just like to do to start is just kind of review where we're at from the initial discussions on February 27th, just to review. So we introduced the budget that night with a 4.58% tax levy, or tax rate increase of 4.7% levy increase. We talked about the budget pressures, the new initiatives that were introduced as part of the budget, as well as a review of capital projects that have impact on the tax rate. So coming out of that meeting, more detail was requested on the township office parking lot expansion, such as the number of new spaces, the potential for angled parking at the rear of the building and such. From the fire department, the fire chief was asked to provide the impact of reducing the amount budgeted for his fleet equipment reserve. So in the budget was $140,000, and he was asked to look at that, and I believe he'll have some information whenever he presents later today. In Public Works, the manager of Public Works was asked to provide further detail on renovations versus a new build for the Public Works depot, and I believe that'll be addressed this morning. With regard to environmental services, the need for 2 new trash compactors was questioned, given that council has identified as a strategic priority a wholesome review of waste management operations. And the library board has requested an increase of 5 hours of staff time per week in order to assist with the administration of the Recreation Lending Library. We estimate the impact of that would be somewhere in the area of probably between $5,000 and $6,000 a year. So the library may address that whenever they're here this afternoon as well. So those are just the notes, Your Worship, from the initial meeting, and the treasurer is going to kind of operate today's meeting and make sure things go as smoothly as possible from the administrative end. So thanks very much.
Okay, good luck.
Good luck. So Your Worship, you all have a copy of the agenda, and I believe we're just going to go through the departments one by one. According to the agenda, CAO has given the overview of the last meeting, and I believe the Public Works Manager is ready for his presentation. Brad, you have the floor.
Thank you. Your Worship, Council, good morning, everyone. Beautiful sunny day. We can get rid of that snow anytime. We'll move forward with the warm weather. This morning I'm going to present you with the 2022, just a general overview of what we did. Our Deputy Clerk's going to assist me in that. You'll start off with your white page, the packet with your white page on top. So if we can just flip through, and as we go, Your Worship, if we may, you're more than welcome to stop and ask questions. If not, we'll just give you a quick synopsis on what we did last year.
Okay.
So 6th Concession Road is a piece from Charlieville to 18. It was in rather questionable condition. So that was a repulverized base, basically rehab the entire road. Rocky Road rehab.
Game, you know, you did.
That's it, I'm not sure. Culver Road rehab, that's the piece we did to the transfer station from County Road 15. North Augusta Transfer Station itself, it's been a great success. We've cleaned it up a lot through there, much like we did Maynard Transfer Station. Quite a few drainage improvements. I know the worship will be paying attention to me on this one. 12-kilometer ditching throughout the township. There's your locations that we've ditched. A little bit of a quick video. Like seeing water run, it's a beautiful thing. So this is Jones's Court. We've been having a lot of issues with cattails down there choking off our drainage systems. This is a permanent, pretty much a semi-permanent to permanent fix that should alleviate any choking up of the ditches from the cattails that, as for all the staff are aware, we've gotten some verbal knowledge of our cattail issues down there. So that's something we did in-house. Cedar Street Parks, so this park, I don't believe has been ditched or maintained, the drainage in 30+ years. So we've now really created some great drainage and let the water get away, which in turn dries your park out and dries your roads out. This is interesting, removal of roadside hazards. So this is some big large trees that were sitting right beside the road that have been cut down previous years that were not removed, the stumps. So in order to save our plow equipment and save accidents and potential liability to the township, we've started to remove these things. Unfortunately, the ongoing aging maples we have throughout the township, along with our heavily populated ash trees, are causing quite a ruckus within the township. There's some examples of what you think might be a solid tree is actually some examples of the hollowed out in the middle from the ash. Our Fitzpatrick, so that's our sand dome, the old sand dome. They were built in the 70s. It was removed this year. 21 entrance culverts. 7 road crossing culverts. These were generally farmed out prior to 4 years ago. We do these in-house now, all in-house. We continue to improve our in-house equipment maintenance, repairs, and program. We've continued to work on and improve our preventative maintenance program. That was started about 2 years ago. Sideline improvements. So this is daylighting your triangles, so when people come up to intersections, we have a due diligence to do that, to make it basically safer for in order to meet the guidelines. Beaver dams have been rather quiet this year. They've about 3 months ago they kind of come at us, and you push them away to one part and they'll come back to another, so they're always keeping us on our toes. Ongoing sign replacement. This is just an example of the old signage to the right and to the left. We feel it's spruced it up quite a bit. 12,000 tons of maintenance stone. That's your annual, that's your gravel, that's your maintenance stone that we put down on the gravel roads. 80 kilometers of calcium. Coal mix. 2022, 20+ tons. Winter maintenance, obviously self-explanatory, I hope. Parks and Rec. So some improvements to the Merck Hall area. So it's a dive center before, dive center after. Playground updates. Should be good. Your Worship, I'm here for any questions, comments regarding 2022's operations.
Yeah, Brad, do you have any problems with your in-house maintenance with John Deere? Federation of Agriculture's going through that now. The American Farm Bureau has signed an MOU for in-house that you're able to repair your own equipment. Has the construction end ever been a problem?
No, we have some great resources, Deputy Mayor. We have a very, very talented mechanic. As for challenges for getting parts sometimes and service, yes. Overall, we're sitting in good shape in-house.
Any other questions? No, carry on.
We go to 2023 proposals, Council.
Where you were at? I don't know, I can't hardly see it, like. I'm sorry, put that one. I can't see this, that's what I was. So did you stop sharing? Yeah.
One of the problems, Council, with this file, we couldn't email it to the Clerk's Department earlier, so thank you to the Clerk's Department and for accommodating
Oh,
the
shit, that's
request.
looking back, that was the, okay, all right, what's this?
Yeah,
Okay. It is a rather large file, so it'll take a minute or two. What does that say?
Upload a copy or replace?
Replace. So we tried it before, but that was the only one at first, so that's that.
It's loading.
It's gonna be a couple of minutes.
All right,
It's a
why
really
don't you,
large file.
you have this, just talk us through it.
Worship, I don't have a copy in front of me, I'd like to
Yeah,
talk
mine.
It's not that one.
The other one?
Here, do you want this?
If I may, Council, for our last budget meeting, I was asked to bring back, as my CAO and treasurer stated, specifically renovations, maybe update or some different parameters or where to go, and include our waste compactor. I've done a further review on that, and speaking with my CAO and Steve, good to continue?
Go ahead.
The two compactors were initially brought forward because the simple fact is we were, getting to the point of maybe looking at some different options for the township. I think we're gonna remain status quo with our current contractor as we go into a 2025 phase-in with the province. That said, I now wish to propose to council one compactor in Maynard, which is in dire need of replacement, as repairs have jumped through the roof substantially. We can reflect that back when we go through the budget if you like. Renovations, you have a little more of an executive summary in front of you. Basically, that kind of is a little more detail regarding possibly some different avenues to look at. There's some options. I think the recommendation is quite clear at the bottom, to proceed with the grant, and the grant only, and look at more viable options this year, and come back to council 2024 with some new ideas, different ideas, whatever the ideas are, but at least get that $100,000 grant we have. Perfect, thank you. And move forward with that. Your worship, at your discretion, we can further talk about this, or perhaps I can go allude to the 2023 proposed budget.
I'm just thinking time and appreciation, so continue, yeah.
Great. If we can start this one, this is gonna be your black overlay. So here's our 2023 capital needs. We have South Campbell on there. I understand that the mayor lives on there. This is totally to do with Public Works. Our road needs study, when it comes out, this will show that, just so it's clear. South Campbell Road, it's self-explanatory. Jokes aside, Mayor, you're well versed on what the road condition is like. So it's gonna be a reconstruct and drainage,
Yeah, just a question on that. Would it be a candidate for chip and stone, seeing it's a low traveled road?
It's certainly an option, Deputy Mayor. With pavement costing about 40% more, it gives you an 80% more longevity of the actual road. I think it's well worth our while through trial and error, through experience, through tar and chip, that we spend the extra little bit of money you won't be coming back to that road for 20 years. Tar and chip, you'll be back at 5.
Chip and stone, they say, from the Good Roads conference I was at before, they say a lot of municipalities make the mistake of not putting a second application on. That second application extends the life a lot longer, but that could come almost the same cost then.
You're pretty much at the same cost, Deputy Mayor.
Okay.
Great question. Thanks, Vic. Lemon Point Lane, we're gonna catch this before we have to really repulverize and reconstruct the whole thing. The second overlay doesn't appear to have went on, whenever this subdivision took place back in the old days, I'm not sure. We wanna bring that up. If you look at you see the cement curb and gutter, there's about a 1.5 inch gap. That's usually indicative of another layer that possibly should have been on. I don't know the background of it. All we can do is move forward, preserve it, and do some drainage work down through there. CAO McDonald and myself became aware for the first time ever of a drainage issue down there, and we actually scoped the storm sewer, and it was a bunch of roots infiltrated up from the river. It was quite interesting. Here we go with the renovations. So I spoke to council just quick. There's a briefing in front of you called Public Works Renovations. Got in the bathroom, the current bathroom. Locker room. The kitchen. The office. Now we're at crack sealing. So crack sealing is a pavement preservation technique we do to, the number one enemy to any road is water. Anytime you can prevent water from getting in or around it or under your pavement will last. So we do this, I'm not sure if there's a list attached, but we do this throughout the township every year. The bucket truck, these are business cases located within the package that you would have gotten, the first package that was sent out to you. The bucket truck, we're looking at doing a lot of internal tree cutting. We're not tree experts, but we are, we think we can save a lot of money with our own internal staff cutting trees. This thing can also be used for signs, flowers, if you want to beautify the communities, streetlights, just numerous applications, along with a work truck. So it's not going to sit there and collect dust. We'll use this pretty much every day. This is going to replace the aging, I think, 2010. This is going to be very similar to the truck we purchased already that should land at the beginning of April. The 2010 it's starting to get really tired. 13 to 15 years is when you should be starting to think about making some decisions with trucks. You hit, I should have brought the graph, and you hit a point of depreciation value versus repair value, and usually about 13 to 15 years is the X. Wood chipper, so we currently have an aging wood chipper from the given to us or purchased from the counties from the 98 ice storm. It's a tractor mounted wood chipper. Old Bessie's done really well for us, but she's tired. We're seeing repairs go up substantially as we bring the tree cutting back in-house a lot. We just need a little more versatile equipment, and this will open up pieces of equipment such as our tractor. We can take it out and do other things with it. Oh, the sweeper attachment. So this is a little more, I know His Worship was asking for a little more better pictures. So this is kind of the actual attachment and what we will be doing with it. Jeff, I think this is the one you were interested in seeing with the water tank on top. Dump it off yourself. Can you go back to the original?
Oh, okay.
Go back to the first slide, Vicki. Yeah. So there, Jeff, it has its own. It contains it in itself, and then we dump it into a dump truck.
Okay, all right. That's
So
what
very similar,
That's what I didn't understand, yeah.
very similar results to a $500,000 sweeper. takes a little more time, but it's in-house and available 24/7 for
Yeah.
leaves, for spills, for accidents, and for winter sand. Maintenance stone, Lano Road, Barton Road, and Maple Avenue this year. So this is what's called a belly dump. So this is basically, we call it a belly dump, it just layers of stone on. Operations. We spoke about it. Main transfer station trash compactor. Winter sand. Drainage improvements. I've gone from Road West, Skakum Road, Riverview Heights, Lords Mills Road, South Branch Road, and Charlie Road. That's prior to this. Water, if it can't get away, it's just gonna start to wander. It's almost like a house. It's gonna start to go under your road and start really deteriorating your road base really fast. I saw more pictures of our dangerous tree program. Road crew, I've seen culvert replacements. Forsyth Road, McLeansville Road, Langland Road are some of the major ones we're going to be doing this year. That's it. Your worship, I mentioned your first name just recently, I'm so sorry.
I'm just impressed with Landon Odd Road.
Your worship, it's been a challenge, I'm gonna be honest with you.
No, I'm looking at the picture.
Oh,
Your snow pile.
your worship, the floor is yours.
We'll have the councilors ask questions first. Anybody?
Thanks, Steve.
Through your worship, Mr. Fay, with a bucket truck, a sweeper truck, and all the additional stuff, do we have the manpower to kind of do all these things? Or like, are we gonna be stretched for that, or type of thing?
It's a great question, Councillor. I think currently we can accommodate them. There is a request to council for a full-time staff. I'm certainly open for discussion on some different avenues. We currently can staff the vehicles. Nothing will sit because of a lack of manpower. I wanna tell council different, but I won't.
I think if it was winter conditions, might be different, you know,
Yeah.
but summer conditions is, I think doable. I don't know, I'm not, you know,
Your worship, if I may.
yeah.
His worship is very, very, right on the money with summer. We have the people in the summer. It's the winter maintenance that I'd really like to maybe talk more in moving forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyway, Mr. Thake, I'm glad you came. A couple of things, trying to get my head around them now, is the renovations to start with. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like anyone bringing options to a budget time. Options should have been presented 4 months ago, okay? And then the plan should be presented to us at this point in time. That's my way of thinking, so everybody knows for future. But your recommendations here, going ahead with spending $100,000, which was planned 3 years ago, if not 4. I realized COVID hit us there, and then trying to get tradespeople and everything else. It's still gonna be a challenge, you know, for that work to be done. So, if it goes through, we spend $100,000 on the recommendations in the inside, then, no, we're not?
We're not spending anything, Your Mayor. It's a grant.
Oh, yeah, but it's still money to us in our budget, well, right now.
Yes, I just wanna make clear, worship, this is a grant.
Yeah, but I think we all know that, it's just, it's in our budget, so that's what we're looking at today. Not my advice, if we pass that, don't let it drag on, that should be a priority. And I'll be honest with you, that's what I'll tell this new CAO coming in too. All right, so just be upfront on that. And yeah, the composter, I was confused on how many composters we actually have right now, because I always thought there was two. Do we have two we own?
So we have 2 compactors,
Sorry, what did I say?
composters. That's okay.
Yeah, I know. I told you that the other day.
Worship,
No, Deputy Mayor's been correcting me on that for I don't know how long. So when I say composter, it's compactor.
composters are usually about $100, compactors.
Yes, I realize
I
that.
wanted to make sure my.
It's a private joke we've been having, but
Your Mayor, you're correct with, we do have 2. It's kind of a, you know what, we do have 2. One is technically not ours, it's in the North Augusta Transfer Station. We do a rental agreement with our current contractor. The fact of we were going to go to 2 was the fact we were looking at some viable options moving forward, starting in 2023 with bringing waste back in-house. After further discussion with my CAO, we've decided to, I think it's best we just stay status quo because we have a rather large and probably a tumultuous transition coming up in 2025, mandated by the province. This way it'll give us some more time to kind of move forward. So that was the original proposal for 2. We do have one we specifically own, which is at the Maynard Transfer Station.
okay, so that makes sense to us if they own it, you know, and we're renting it off them. So your intent is now you said Maynard, is your intent to replace that one at North Augusta?
No, Maynard Transfer Station is in dire need of a new one. That's the one we currently own.
Alright. Alright, it's just every time I go there, which is frequently, I don't see any problem with it. And maybe I'm just hitting all the off times, I don't know, but anyway. Alright, so servicing is on those. Do we do our own servicing or do they do it?
In which regard?
So it breaks down.
Which
Our
one?
compactor, our own compactor. If it breaks down, who does the servicing?
We provide our own maintenance. We've started to do that in-house again, which is quite a cost savings for bringing people in from Quebec.
Alright, so they don't do it.
Correct.
Okay, that's good.
It is good.
And the parking lot, I was a little bit confused with last time because I was trying to figure out the number of spaces. You said 4, but what I didn't understand is that we're going right around the building. And I see the cost now, okay? So, I just needed a little more clarity on that, so. That was good. Any other questions?
Through your worship, the mandate from the province, what does that look like? Or we shouldn't have to worry about that right now?
We're still finalizing that, Councillor Henry. It's a great question. We will be bringing stuff forward to council for mostly information, and direction will start coming later on. It's still, unfortunately, a lot of it's still being worked out with the input from the municipalities, and it's obviously, as usual, when things become available, we'll pass them along.
Well, I did have one question earlier on that renovation. In the first proposal, it was 300,000 for the new build. Now that's out, so, but that money was budgeted before. So where does that go now?
I think that's maybe a question for Treasurer or CAO. I'm not sure, Adrian, I think 300 has been budgeted currently. Maybe my treasurer or the treasurer can confirm that.
Your worship, so there is $300,000 grant building renovation that has been carried forward to do the work. I believe the public works manager was asking for another $100,000 to do inside renovations over and above that 300,000.
I think if I can help my treasurer, your worship.
Yeah.
The 300,000 is not a grant. I think we pulled it out of budgeted every year. Treasurer, is that correct?
It was from a grant that was carried over from 2022.
Okay.
And it just was not done in 2022, so we are gonna do the work in 2023.
Sitting in reserve right now.
It's
Right.
sitting in a reserve right now, so it hasn't been used.
Okay, yeah, I think we're getting a little confusion up here. There was a grant, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a grant in 2020, way before 2022, for $100,000 we got for renovation.
Yes.
We never did the renovations, so that carried, I assume that carried on from year to year to year. So,
It carried on, but it is money that is gonna have to be, there is a deadline for when we have to
Correct.
use that money.
yeah, so let's use it, yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Alright, so, and what, the other 300,000, that was, is that in reserve now?
It is in a reserve. It was a project that was not completed in 2022. So that project, we've carried forward that amount to hopefully do the work in 2023.
And
Oh.
it's not a grant.
It's not a grant, it is
No.
from a reserve.
Right,
Sorry, that was me.
right, so that 300,000 is currently in our budget,
Yes,
so we don't do the work, we take it out of the budget?
you can. It's sitting in a reserve, so it would have to be transferred from the reserve. It's proposed to be transferred from the reserve to do the work in 2023.
Right, well, we can't do the work in 2023 because I think we're so way behind on the renovation standpoint, you know, so. The 100,000 we can do inside, but if we're talking new buildings and all that, you'll never get it done.
Worship, if I may, there's a $100,000 grant proposed being used this year. There's 200,000 in a reserve. We are asking for 100,000, I think, this year to complement that. Is that correct, Treasurer? Is that better worded?
Yes,
Okay, all right,
All right, so we're asking for 100,000 extra to impact the budget this year.
to
Does
go into
that help?
reserve, to go into reserve.
Correct.
Plus,
Correct,
we're gonna spend 100,000 grand,
correct.
that makes sense.
Apologies for,
So does that make it
No,
500
So,
or 300?
Your worship, if council decides that the only work to be done this year is the $100,000 grant, then we have $100,000 of tax rate impact that can be allocated elsewhere. If that's the only work that's going to be done, unless you want to tuck away that money into a reserve for future renovations at the Public Works Depot.
which could be transferred out of there at any, in future years.
It's a discretionary reserve, so
Yes.
council can do whatever they would like with it.
Yeah, okay, all right. Okay. Yes,
Can I ask you another question about the new staff that you're wanting? And maybe your winter maintenance where you're needing more staff?
so further discussion with my CAO, I used the word, I need to clarify something. I used the word burnout with my CAO when he approached me after the initial budget meeting, and I like to rescind that comment to Mr. McDonald with the word burnout. It can lead council members and staff to question how we're running the public works, specifically departments. Burnout is not a word I should have alluded to, rather, there's a lot of vacation, there's senior employees taking a lot more time off. The full-time employee was requested just as that to complement our operations. I believe the mayor alluded to it in his opening remarks regarding staff, and that we definitely want to improve our winter maintenance program. And maybe that consists of a contract employee for 6 months in the wintertime. Maybe we can reevaluate this year and bring a different report back to council next year on, do we need a full-time one? We can always use one. I think we definitely I would encourage council to support a 6-month contract in the winter with the public works bringing a report back in 2024.
yeah, it makes sense to me because once you hire somebody, you have them. And we gotta think of benefits and everything else, just not standard pay costs, it's everything else that goes with that. So, in the office here, we kinda see who, you know, the people in the office, we kinda know what to do, cause we're in here all the day long, but we don't see people there. I mean, yes, we can go there and we see people working, but we don't know what they do half the time, all right? So, maybe we should go visit. We know you have, Mr. Stanek, that basically, I assume he does a lot of the reports and stuff? No? And what's he do then?
Well, John's our CET, who does a lot of asset management planning.
Yeah,
He does more of the infrastructure side, your mayor, with developing tenders and contracts. Reports is I'm sorry, can you clarify the word report?
reports, administration,
Yeah, so Kathleen Cole's been a great asset for us, right? So she's really helped improve our timing and our accountability for our AP and our timesheets. In 2022, we added her, or that position. John complements the guys in between, almost a supportive role as a supervisor type thing to tender ready into contract administration, which was all, contract administration was done outside prior to my arrival, along with engineering, which now is done in-house as well.
So the proposed news person would be what, a laborer?
An operator.
Okay,
As a laborer and operator, we call them operators. Laborers, we have operators, we don't have laborers.
well, financially, we have laborers. All right, so,
Actually, they're called operators in the collective agreement, your worship.
any other questions? I guess we don't have any more questions for
So
you.
just,
So, yeah,
Your worship, so I don't know if council wants to flush out this whole staffing issue right now. So the public works manager is asking for 1.4 FTEs in the budget. The impact on the budget this year is just under $40,000. The impact going forward on an annual basis in 2024, for example, would be $98,500. So that's salary plus burden, so benefits, et cetera. So, I mean, maybe we could tackle them one at a time. There's currently a 0.6 built in to the workforce in Public Works. And the manager is asking for a 0.4 FTE, so that 0.6 becomes 1 full-time equivalent. And then he's asking for another body in addition to that. The 0.4 FTE, basically because there is a casual laborer, sorry, I know that you don't like that word, but it's a laborer
laborer.
in the Public Works Department right now that they've kind of kept on to help out. So that is included in the budget right now. So if that 0.4, or sorry, if the 0.6 becomes a 1, there's no budget impact this year. The budget impact will come from the additional full-time staff. And that budget impact, as I said, this year is just under $40,000. Next year, the budget impact would be something just under $100,000. So I'm not sure if council's prepared to give direction on that now, but it would be helpful if council has any questions, if we want to clarify any of that.
Questions, yeah.
Yeah, your worship, I think, the way I would look at it would be if we go with the recommendation of hiring the contract person for the winter, and then next year at budget, if Mr. Fink can show us that it was well needed and he needs them, we can always put them on full-time then. And as far as the 0.4, we can deal with that now, yeah. Or the 0.6, whatever. Yeah.
Any other questions? Does that clarify everything for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more comment on that, and I'm sure you're quite well, like you said, some of your older employees have a lot of holidays. And I know most people my age like taking off in the wintertime, go south. So that puts more stress on you for getting the work done in the wintertime when you're the busiest.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah. Anything to add, Mr. Fink, at all? Oh, sorry, CA.
Sorry, I know that we've kind of been talking mainly about capital projects, but I would direct council to page 16, which is the operating budget of Public Works. If there are any questions on the operating side, page 16 in the original budget package.
Yeah.
And then from there, I mean, we can move on to environmental services if need be, and Parks and Rec.
Thanks, Steve.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I have two questions. One, on your sand and salt parts and supplies, you budgeted 80,000, actual was 277, and next year you're down to 150. Why are you don't think we're gonna spend the 277 like we did in 22?
I really don't think we are, Deputy Mayor. We had an influx in salt and sand and filling up our domes. I really think we can, through our new mixes, we can bring that cost down substantially, hence the ask for the amounts currently.
Okay. And then my second question was, in contract services, you had said to put in 75,000, we only spent 33, but now you're on 150.
Yes, we took a lot of that work from our capital side and do trees and whatnot. We wanna bring that back. We're gonna really focus on our parks a lot and our roadsides with the professionals that come in for trees and ditching.
Could that, you don't think that could be lowered?
Yeah, we could,
Like that's quite a.
what's your number, Deputy Mayor?
He's down at 438,01030.
So it's the contract, we moved trees from the
So it's
capital
just-
side.
Yeah, and that's right. We moved trees from capital. Yeah, so we brought the trees over from capital back into operations, which is, it was a move with the CAO, and I concur with them. It's a day-to-day activity rather than the problem is the amount, Deputy Mayor, we get, generally, you get up around capital amounts. That is a day-to-day operation. I totally concur with the CAO, and that's why we moved it from capital into operations. Thank you,
Okay.
thanks, Steve.
That's all.
Technical difficulties up there, so. The one thing that I noted on this, sorry, was there any hands? No? And I think for your 2023 proposed, if I'm reading this right, with the ditching, you didn't put anything at all. I made that comment before. Like, we did a great job this year, and maybe the past year.
Should be in our capital, Steve.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think we probably need a ditcher, my point of view, eventually. But, you don't need anything at all this year?
We do, your worship, if I may, it's in
Yeah.
capital, your worship. It was, but on my, it's in your paper. It's in our capital budget.
So
What's it called?
it's one of your worship, it's one of the items that was presented in the capital budget, the ditching. So it's, because it's a one-time cost, as opposed to having it in the operating budget, it
Yeah. It's a one-off.
show up in the capital budget under, I believe was on his slide presentation.
It's contract services, Treasurer.
Drainage and permits.
Am I missing something here? We got this one here, 12 plus kilometers of ditching, that's what he did. But-
Yeah, and there's also an amount, should be an amount in the
There's your
2023.
drainage improvements is 100,000. It's in 3/4 of the way down, transportation services, council.
So in your capital budget presentation, under transportation services, drainage improvements, Algonquin West, 6th concession west, $100,000.
Page number?
It's it should be right at the,
25, yeah.
My book fell apart, so it's a mess.
All right, so, okay, all right. Let's see it now. I just, I'm trying to figure out why it's under capital. When it's operational.
Uh,
That's what's throwing me off, I guess. Any clarification on that?
through the chair, I would just, usually it would be a large ticket item, one-time cost for that area, even though it is an operational item, something that might be done every year. We can move it from capital to operations, but we've included it in the capital budget this year.
Okay, alright, I guess I'm not used to that format.
And as well, it is something that is funded from reserves as opposed to being funded through the tax rate.
Okay. Any other questions, Your Worship? Yeah?
Mr. Dick, Brad, can you kind of help me understand, so you have snowplowing parts and supplies. And we're on page 16 again?
Yep.
So for 2022, you budgeted 5,000, your actual was 70, and you have 25,000 for 23. What all does that entail?
So we might have been putting those parts to the equipment itself, Councillor Pate, which is generally how it should be done. This time we're looking at really improving our winter maintenance supply and equipment, snow blades, teeth, chains, bolts, nuts. We have a limited supply right now and stock.
So this kind of be like replenishing of stock, like the
Absolutely,
$70?
sir.
So you used up what you had and you're just kind of replacing?
Absolutely. We've been pretty frugal the last few years, and I'm getting a little uncomfortable with supply issues, so we think we should maybe think about that in the future.
Fair enough. Thank you.
I think I'll allude to council, that the counties have been borrowing stuff off us, is how proactive we're being.
You mentioned contract services at all? Is that what you talked about?
No, snowplow parts and supply.
Just a quick note of the contract services. Where we've gone from, 2022 budget was 75. The 22 actual was 33, but our proposed is 150. So we're doubling from what our last year's budget and contract services. So maybe just a little bit of clarity on why.
Tree removal from.
I think there, we already went over that. That was one of
We
my
did.
questions.
Oh, was it? Sorry.
Yeah, we already.
I was fighting with technology up here.
Yeah, but Mr. Thank
No,
you
we're
went over
good.
it
It was
again.
a tree, ash tree mostly?
We took it out of capital and put it in operation,
Okay.
that's all.
Your worship, just for clarification as well, Adam, the page afterwards with the vehicles, if you wanna take a look at that, that kind of gives you an idea of the vehicles we have, and it's broken down by, there's a line item for parts and then a line item for fuel. Just to give you an idea of some of the costs that are associated with some of the vehicles that Public Works Department uses.
But you grouped that all under 200,000, right?
Exactly.
280,000, I should say, 200,000. Any other questions, anybody? No, it doesn't seem like it, Mr. Thay. Do you have any comments?
I would just,
Sorry.
I was just going to say through the chair, Adam, I'm not sure if you would like to take a look at the operational recreation budget as well,
Okay,
one Mr.
alright.
Fake is presenting.
Sorry about that.
Waste as well.
Pardon me?
Waste.
Oh, and, sorry, and waste disposal as well, which would be the GL account numbers 510 starting. And then the recreation would be the 600 series. I'm not sure if there's any questions on any of those line items.
What pages,
Pardon me?
what pages are we looking at?
19 and 20, I believe.
We're fussing around up here because every time we turn the iPads, we kind of lose everything up here.
You gotta keep turning it.
So it's just the way it's formatted on there. So,
That's why,
and unfortunately I dropped mine and they're all out of order.
oh,
So, yeah, we're not perfect.
No.
No, but we're at recreation here now, so. All right, questions?
Okay, I got two questions under waste disposal. One, the 500 for pitch-in, I don't think that's nearly enough. And I've talked to Councillor Henry, and we probably should do it twice a year to keep the township beautified, but I think we should put more money in the budget on that. That's one item that should probably be doubled or more. The other question was wetland monitoring. How come that's gone up so much? Is that provincial regulation?
It is provincial, through the worship, pitching, I'm more than willing to accommodate, an extra few bucks in there. Deputy Mayor, I'm not sure where we get our costs from, our guys volunteered their time, it's extra, there's no salaries involved. Has some bags and some barbecue stuff.
Actually, Granville Fish and Game Club, they do all that for us. So there's no cost other than the
Well,
luggage.
it's supposed to be.
Your worship, through the chair, I believe, we supply bags and gloves. And what else? I'm not even sure if there's.
I think Tim Horton supplied all the bags, so. Yeah.
I'm
So I don't,
just-
there's very little cost.
No, there's very little cost associated with it. It's just, picking up of the garbage or the waste afterwards by.
Jeff Shaver's truck.
But, worship, even something like a $5 Tim's card or something, or if we can get students involved for their volunteer hours or something. But I mean, that takes organization, and that may cost a little bit of money to get that organized better.
Is there
Or
advertising
some
cost?
students, right?
Is there advertising cost?
There should be some.
I would think so, advertising.
Yeah, Councilor
Through your
Aaron?
worship, I do know the Grenville Fish and Game has asked, I think it's like a $200 a year. It was overlooked last year because I don't think there was a very good turnout. But this year, with conversations with Mr. Thake and Kathleen, they're trying to make it bigger and better, and hopefully, like Deputy Mayor said, twice a year, if that's even possible. And I think we do have costs for gloves and some bags, unless we go get out more to the businesses and ask for more donations.
Well, you're the main person that looks after that, as far as you are, really, in the last few years. So is $500 enough for you? Do you want us to increase it? Hey, your call.
Through your worship, me personally, I think it's okay, but I would take direction maybe from Kathleen now that she's in there and organizing it. Maybe she would have a better idea.
She's not here though.
No.
If you were to do it twice a year, sorry, your worship, if you were to do it twice a year,
Then I guess it would be double the cost.
I think your worship, I think we bumped the cost up twice, put $1,000 in there, that's more than plenty for.
We're not gonna break the bank for that, no.
If that's okay, council, why don't we bump it up to 1,000 with the blessing of the CAO? Treasurer?
Yeah.
Good. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Yeah, as Tanya, as Councillor Henry alluded to, your worship, we continue to really make leaps and bounds with pitch-in and community PR stuff and services, much like food drives and that. So we'll continue doing what we can and support the township as a whole.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor had a question about regulation monitoring.
well, yeah, the wetlands monitoring,
So it is mandated by the province, Deputy Mayor. Unfortunately, fees have went up, for example, fuel's up 55%. That's gonna reflect back on contract services as well. Their prices are gonna go up substantially as well. It's out of our hands, unfortunately.
Any other questions? Recreation or? The waste disposal cost there, 300 and some odd thousand, that's strictly Fast Eddie, yeah?
Yes.
You've got reflection there too.
Well, sorry, it encompasses everything. So Fast Eddie's, yes, but however, Fast Eddie's takes the garbage away. We pay GFL.
Right.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
your worship, if we can synopsis it, it is to do with
Yeah.
all waste.
Okay.
No monitoring,
Yeah, I have one question on the recreation. I don't know if you can answer this or not, Mr. Fake, but, the rationale of going from 16,000 actual for programs, figure skating and hockey to 50,000. Is that just because of the cost of the new rink in Prescott?
It's actually, through you, your worship, to the deputy mayor. Pre-COVID, the municipality had agreed with both Prescott and Edwardsburg Cardinal to contribute $25,000 to offset operating costs on an annual basis at their rates, so that Augusta residents wouldn't pay any additional fees. They'd be treated as a resident and not pay any surcharges.
Okay.
So up to 25,000. So they will provide evidence to us that, you know, the number of users and such, right?
Okay, because I know before it used to be on a per child basis, we paid so much per child and they had to give us the numbers.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And then, well, while we're on this, can I ask a question on the 75,000? Is that a one-time
So,
payment?
right, so that, your worship, so that is a placeholder, as I've said. It's coming out of reserve, so there's no tax rate impact. And I put that number in there, and it's a one-time contribution to the capital cost of the new Prescott rink. And I know that there's been discussions ongoing between members of council and Prescott officials as well. So, and I know the one thing that was tossed around was possibly sponsoring the walking track, which would go around the top of the arena. So that basically was where the discussion was left, but as I say, the amount's totally at council's discretion.
We would like a name on some.
Yeah.
And we figured that would be well used. Yeah.
Through your worship. Again, Brad, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but Algonquin Recreation allocating back $6,000 for Algonquin. I believe, was it last year we took that out to our previous years because there wasn't anything happening and was allocated to somewhere else or something?
Sure, so I'm not aware of last year when Parks and Rec was transferred to Public Works Department from the CAO's department in August of 2022. So we've been kind of working together to spearhead what the Parks and Rec department is. We're trying to get there. As for Algonquin, I think, Michelle, it's good to maybe leave some funds in there in case we start doing some work. There is a bit of mindset that it has to get cleaned up a little bit, with the consensus of the families and groups that are involved in it. I think it's important for council to know, I would really like to see 2023 as a huge transition year, a huge plan year, a huge master Parks and Rec plan. I think the CAO can elude, or has he made aware of the council that we want a temporary contract employee to come in and map out some Parks and Rec plans for us. I don't believe that's been mentioned today.
Yeah, well, it's been mentioned previously.
Sorry?
It has been mentioned, yeah.
The Parks and Rec employee?
Sorry? No.
The original meeting, yeah, I just said it wasn't, I don't think it was mentioned today.
No,
Okay, so we're good.
previously,
And
yeah.
so CAO has really been supportive and helping me, helping us just try and get there and get the ball rolling. I think we have, I think we made leaps and bounds in Parks and Rec. We will continue to do that, build relationships and make Parks and Rec, well, how Augusta does it.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not against it, I'm glad we're putting it back in there.
If council took it out, I wasn't aware of that, and so I'm certainly not gonna go against a council direction. I know
That out, was it last year, or I know we took it out at one point because there was nothing happening. And I can't remember, or am I way off my rocker? Okay, maybe I'm way off my rocker.
Well, no, Councillor Bowman, I mean, last year the budget was only $1,600 for Algonquin Rec. So the 6,000 may have been originally and then reduced it to 1,600. So I think what council also, your worship, needs to get their head around is, you know, is the $6,000 which we budget for each of the recreation associations adequate? It's been 6,000, certainly I know I've only been here 18 months, but it's been 6,000 since I can go back and look. For example, one of the rec associations has already used up more than $6,000. You know, so what do we do at our level? Do we tell them, sorry, no more? And perhaps, you know, maybe this whole kind of updating the rec master plan, that we that we propose in, as part of the budget, maybe that's going to help us answer that question, because I still think we really need to understand what we do and what they do, as far as the, I mean, we're making progress slowly, but we really need to kind of flesh out exactly what role Augusta plays and what role the associations play.
Worship, I got a question for the treasurer. When you put 5,000 in reserves for the library, does that still, when they wanna spend that money, does it gotta come to council? That we still have to approve it, or can, if it's put in their reserve, can they spend it how they want? And where does the money go? Do you control it? Do we get the interest on it?
It's
Township, or is that money just put in the library account and they have total control of it?
Your worship, through chair, that money is basically, would be a line item, so they would accumulate a certain amount in their reserve fund. I don't have the exact balance, but yes, it would be their money to kind of use however they choose fit. So my understanding is it's not something that they would have to come to council. They come once a year for their budget, and if they want to use something from reserve to purchase something, then they can use that. It would be their kind of reserve, as opposed to having to get approval to take the money out of the reserve. And that's my understanding. I'm not sure if the CAO can add to that, or.
No, I mean, council are the municipality is the keeper of the funds.
Right.
They don't have a separate bank account, so if they, through the board, I mean, because they're basically an independent board, that council approves their budget or their spending allocation. So they could say to us, you know, we've got $15,000 in our reserve, you know, give us a check for 12,000 to do this, this, or this. We will, as a matter of course, come to council, because yes, it's our bank account, or it's, you know, council's control. So it would basically be an information type of item saying the library has requested X number of dollars out of their reserve, council concurs. So that's what we'd be looking for.
Okay, well, I just wondered, was there a rationale why they say 5,000 every year? Are they looking for something, or do we have a limit on, okay, you have so much in reserve and then that is it? Because I know we did have that at one time with rec committees, that they didn't just build up money and not spend it.
Right, it's a good question, and perhaps it's best asked to the library reps when they're here this afternoon, because I know that they've just asked for $5,000 every year.
Okay, is there,
Through your worships, Steve, is it something we should look at for this budget for upping the rec committee's amount, or should we wait for next budget?
Well, that's a really good question. There is a small reserve in recreation which could be utilized if need be, you know, if one of the associations runs into issues. But I mean, the thing is, even if, you know, with what, 5 or 6 recreation associations, and even if you tossed another, we'll say $10,000 cumulative into that budget, so that there's some room, so maybe it's another $1,000 or $1,500 per rec association. Because I mean, the thing is, you know, I'm still kind of learning myself, kind of what we pay for the rec association. Some we pay for their snow plowing and grass cutting, others pay for it themselves. Some we pay for their insurance, others pay for their insurance themselves. It's very, you just need a scorecard to kind of keep track of everything. So there's no consistency, and I think that's what we would really like. You know, if we pay for snow plowing for one, we should pay for it for them all. If we pay for insurance for one, we should pay for it for them all. So it's that consistency that I'd like to see. Sorry, that's a long answer to your question. I apologize. But I think, you know, another $10,000 in that budget to kind of help out, I think would be useful.
And like I've noticed with Mayor Rec, sometimes the plowing is not getting done, and then you hear about it afterwards. And like he said, we should maybe do the same for all of them with our new master plan that's possibly coming. I think Brad could speak to that.
I think CAO McDonald was spot on the money with, there's a lot more questions there is answers right now. And that's the frustrating part about trying to run a department and trying to get an answer and give someone an answer. We want to create that in 2023. I think it's only fair to the rec committees, the volunteers, and this council and staff. we need to figure that out. I think this is the year to do it. And to get on board, it's not so much a matter of making it black and white, it's consistent, it's a process. Once processes are followed, they're great. So that's our plan to bring that forward. If council would ask me what I suggest, you sparked the conversation. I don't know why we don't put a $25,000 capital reserve aside. We got some work coming up on the buildings, and I think we're failing to see, we have to look at that a little bit deeper maybe.
That's where we need to know in detail what's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's provided by you, so. Okay,
Thank you, Your Worship.
is there anything,
I do have one more thing under that, I just thought about,
that's what it's for?
the library. You plowed the library, or is that a separate contract?
We plow the library, they reimburse Public Works, as the library is its own entity.
Yeah.
We will be addressing, where we snowplow and what we snowplow in 2023. Unfortunately, we'll figure out a plan, bring that back to council and, move forward.
Okay, so, well, like, and maybe this is gonna have to be a question for the library board when they come, but I had somebody from the church approach me, and they said, they were told the library's not, the church parking lot's not gonna be plowed anymore when the library's plowed.
Correct.
And so they said, what their option will have to be then is to cut that parking lot off from the library. The library will not be able to use that parking lot anymore, because if it's not plowed, somebody slips and falls, they're liable.
So Deputy Mayor, what I'm hearing is, it's actually a private civil issue. The church is its own entity. The church is nothing more to me than a private property. Churches are very important, don't get me wrong, I understand that. If we plow one church.
Well, I know, unless we had an MOU with them. That's the only way I can.
So I've asked, I've dug into it. C.A.O. McDonald has challenged me to, have we done this, have we done it, what's our, we have no obligation to do it. I suggest highly to council we don't start. Your litigation is.
Yeah, no, I understand, I just want council to know then that the library will be restricted in parking. And if they have enough parking, then okay, but when they have events on, they don't have to park on the street.
Okay, I just want to remind
Yeah.
council, we have library this afternoon,
Yeah,
so.
it's more a library issue.
Yeah, so, and you're welcome to talk during breaks or lunch hour to the treasurer or the CAO, get some answers beforehand. And if there's anything we kind of missed, we can bring it up after too, or the next meeting. Is there any more questions for Mr. Thake as far as public works, waste disposal, and recreation? Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Thake, for all that.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, council.
The one thing I did want to mention, and the deputy mayor and I have been kind of discussing this, and it hasn't been done for the last 8 years, and that's to hold either a breakfast, a lunch, or a dinner for all our volunteers throughout the township. I'm thinking time frame probably October. That's when things kind of smooth down from sports and everything else. But I believe the CAO has put a little bit of that, I think, under his budget administration. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you, I've always wanted to do that. I think the volunteers don't get thanked, and that may help in the future.
Your Worship, I believe, I had just started and we had a volunteer appreciation barbecue at Maynard, outside at Maynard Rec. So I think that's close to 6 years ago was the last time that I remember any type of volunteer. And I don't know if that was just for.
It must have been, yeah.
It was open for everyone, I know, because we looked after that, and I believe there was hamburgers, hot dogs, and.
I just don't want to get off topic, but.
No.
This has to be basically publicized throughout the whole.
Exactly.
township. So North Augusta, Roebuck, everybody comes.
Yeah.
All right, Chair, go ahead and take.
I'm through the chair. Would anyone like to take a 5-minute break and then we could get into the next line item, or bathroom break, quick 5 minutes?